Spain. Number one in the ESPN rankings heading into the 2026 World Cup. I mean, that's quite a statement right there. So, what's the real story behind them getting this top billing?
Exactly. It's not just a flash in the pan or good luck. We've really looked closely at the recent games, dug into the tactics, and today, yeah, we're going to try and dissect what really makes this Spanish squad a genuine contender.
Right. Forget scrolling endlessly online. This deep dive today, it's laser focused.
Right.
Really understanding what's driving Spain's current success. We're looking at their qualification, how they play, their tactics, and, what their chances realistically look like for the big one. By the end, you should have a pretty good sense of why they're sitting right at the top. Okay, so let's kick off with how they got here, how they became frontrunners.
Well, their journey, it's been pretty compelling. That flawless run in the UEFA Nations League, that immediately tells you this is a team working at a seriously high level. And like you said, that ESPN number one ranking, it's not just an opinion, is it? It reflects really consistent top-tier performance.
And it feels earned, doesn't it? 14 matches unbeaten since they lifted the Euro 2024 trophy. That kind of run that builds serious momentum. What stands out for you about that streak?
Well, if you dig into their Nations League Group 4 results, getting 16 points out of a possible 18 across 6 games.
Hmm.
Wow. That shows remarkable consistency. It wasn't just, scraping wins. They were performing well consistently against good teams.
Yeah. And what really caught my eye was the sheer number of different goal scorers during qualifying. 13 goals from 12 different players. That tells a story, doesn't it? About their attacking depth.
Absolutely. It really highlights a key strength. The threat isn't just coming from one or two star players, which, makes them a much tougher proposition for defenses. They've got goal threats all over the pitch.
Looking ahead then, that Nations League quarterfinal against the Netherlands, March 2025, that feels like a pretty critical test before the World Cup itself.
Oh, definitely. It's a massive test, isn't it? Against another top European side. It's a huge chance to fine-tune things tactically, see how ready they are for that World Cup intensity. And the fact that BetMGM has them as favorites to win the whole Nations League, that just shows you the belief that's out there in this team's ability.
Okay. So the focus now is clearly just keeping that level high, keeping the momentum, carrying that winning feeling all the way to 2026. But Spain, obviously, they have this incredible football history. Let's maybe touch on some of that context.
Yeah, their legacy is huge. That period, 2008 and 2012, back-to-back Euros, the 2010 World Cup. I mean, that was a true golden age, wasn't it? So many people remember that vividly. It defined an era of stylish, dominant football.
And the tiki-taka style was just iconic then. But the analysis we've seen suggests a shift, an evolution under De La Fuente. More pragmatic now.
Uh-huh. It's interesting because while the style might have shifted slightly, the winning seems to keep going.
So what tactical things really show this shift?
Well, there's this move towards what people are calling vertical football. So maybe a bit more emphasis on directness. Instead of just keeping the ball for ages in midfield, they're looking for quicker transitions, maybe more cutting passes forward, trying to get shots off quicker.
Interesting. And the age profile is another big point, right? Average age of 25 now compared to that older golden generation. This mix of youth, but with the experience they got winning Euro 2024, that seems like a really potent combination.
Definitely. A younger squad usually means more energy, maybe more agility, perhaps more openness to new tactics. And winning the Euros, that gave this young core just invaluable experience under pressure, speeding up their development, building that team spirit. And don't forget their Finalissima appearance, too. That match against the South American champs. More top-level international exposure.
Okay, so we've covered their recent form, which is, frankly, stellar. The history, the style evolution. Now let's really get into what makes this current Spanish team so strong. What are their biggest strengths right now?
Well, like we've said, the youthfulness. Average age, just 25, that's a huge plus. And seeing these incredibly talented teenagers like Yamal and Cubarsi emerge, it just injects so much energy, maybe a bit of unpredictability too.
Yeah, what specific advantages do you think those really young guys bring? Maybe things older players don't have quite as much.
Well, pace, perhaps? Fearlessness? Sometimes young players just play with a freedom.
Yeah, it's exciting to watch, and the analysis also flags their tactical flexibility. That comeback win against Croatia in the Nations League, that really stands out.
Exactly. That game showed they can change things up mid-match when things aren't going their way, find a way to turn it around. That adaptability makes them incredibly hard to plan against. And then there's the midfield, the depth and quality there. Players like Pedri, Zubimendi, Marino. That's the engine room, gives them control.
Strong midfield is always key, isn't it? But, okay, no team's perfect. What about weaknesses? What vulnerabilities does the analysis point to?
Um, One thing that's been mentioned is maybe occasional defensive lapses, concentration sometimes. That 2-2 draw with Croatia, for example. Maybe they conceded goals they shouldn't have. It highlights that need for constant focus at the back, especially in big games where one mistake costs you.
Makes sense. And while all that young attacking talent is exciting, are there potential downsides? Relying so heavily on teenagers in a World Cup? That's immense pressure.
Yeah, it's a fair point. Their talent is obvious, but navigating the sheer mental and physical pressure of a World Cup,
Yeah.
experience can be vital there. It's different from league football. And injuries, of course. That's always a risk. Losing key players like Gabi for periods, that's tough. Managing those setbacks, keeping the squad balanced, that's going to be crucial for the staff.
Absolutely crucial. Okay, let's shift to the man in charge then. Luis de la Fuente, 63 years old, came up from the U21s. What's his philosophy? How's he shaped this team?
Well, his approach seems pretty pragmatic, focused on getting results, maybe prioritizing efficiency sometimes over, purely beautiful football for its own sake. That tactical shift we talked about, more direct, more vertical, quicker transitions, that seems to be a key part of his strategy.
And the analysis mentions he's not afraid to make bold calls, like bringing in young Weissen. Trusting youth seems like a real theme.
Yeah, definitely. He's shown he'll give chances to young players if they have the quality and, importantly, the right mentality. And the prep work from his staff, it sounds meticulous. Thinking about all scenarios, even penalty shootouts. That shows real thoroughness.
And you can't argue with a 74% win rate since he took over in 2023, can you? That speaks for itself, really. His focus on nurturing guys like Yamal and Kabarsi seems key to the future, too. Plus, like we said, that tactical flexibility shown in the Croatia comeback, that's a big tick.
For sure. But, you have to acknowledge the pressure. Managing Spain, the expectation is immense. Delivering that first World Cup since 2010, that's heavy. And people inevitably compare him to Scaloni, who took Argentina all the way.
Yeah.
That just ramps up the pressure and the scrutiny.
Oh, absolutely. The weight of history, national expectations, huge in football. Right, let's spotlight some key players then. Who are the individuals we really need to watch?
Well, Lamine Yamal, obviously. He can just light up a game, can't he? His dribbling, his flair, and the stats back it up. 17 goals and assists in 2024. That's remarkable. And the fact he seems to thrive under pressure at such a young age, that's pretty special.
He's definitely one of those players who can create something from nothing. And then Rodri in midfield, people compare him to De Bruyne. His positioning, his passing range, clearly vital. And the analysis notes how much fans want him back from injury. Shows how important he is.
Without a doubt.
Yeah.
And up top, Morata gives them that vital experience, doesn't he? A reliable goal threat, a leader. You need that. But beyond them, keep an eye on the emerging guys, too. Heissen's development at Bournemouth looks really promising for the defense. Asensio, breaking through at Real Madrid, he looks versatile, adds attacking punch. And Igahoua, successfully recruiting him, adding pace and creativity. That shows their scouting for dual nationals is working well.
It's a really interesting mix, isn't it? Seasoned pros and these exciting youngsters. Now, physical fitness, it's just non-negotiable in modern football. How does Spain stack up there?
Yeah, you can't compete without it. And the fact they had 12 different scores in qualifying. That suggests not just depth, but maybe the physical capacity across the squad to contribute consistently. That late equalizer against Croatia, 88th minute, that's evidence of endurance, fighting spirit right to the end, and their high-press strategy, trying to win the ball back high at the pitch, like 65% of the time. That demands incredible stamina from everyone.
Yeah, that kind of pressing, it's relentless. Everyone has to be absolutely top condition. So, what are the key elements of their physical prep? What does the analysis say?
It points to a really sophisticated sports science setup. Specific recovery plans, especially for the younger players. They apparently compare their endurance data against other top teams like Argentina. And proactive injury prevention, particularly for the key older players. It sounds very comprehensive, very data-driven, making sure they're ready for the demands of a tournament.
Sounds like they're leaving no stone unturned there. Okay, so when we pull it all together, what really sets Spain apart from the other big contenders for 2026?
I think that unique blend of youth and experience is a big one. Average age 25, one of the youngest contenders, but with players who've already won big things. Their tactical adaptability, too, using 4 different formations effectively in 2024. Being able to switch seamlessly mid-game, that makes them incredibly hard to read and counter.
That in-game flexibility is huge. And the analysis also mentions their mental strength, those dramatic penalty shootout wins in the Nations League.
Exactly. staying cool under that kind of pressure in a final.
Mm.
It says a lot about their mentality, their team spirit, and their scouting, bringing in dual nationals like a Gahawa. It just gives them a wider, maybe more diverse talent pool than some others. It's interesting, France, for example, slightly older squad maybe, used fewer formations recently. But Spain, despite the young players coming in, they seem to have kept this strong squad continuity. It looks like a really well-integrated group.
It really paints a picture of a team that's resilient, adaptable, and has a very bright future. And looking just a bit further ahead, Spain's co-hosting the 2030 World Cup. How might that longer view affect things now?
Well, co-hosting in 2030 with Portugal and Morocco, that's a massive long-term thing. Getting automatic qualification for that one, it takes off some pressure, doesn't it? It lets them be maybe more strategic, more patient with player development, building for both 26 and 30. Plus, obviously, it means ongoing investment in facilities and keeping that pipeline of young talent flowing through the academy so they're ready to compete on home soil.
An exciting time ahead for Spanish football then. So, to wrap this up, what are the main takeaways from our deep dive into this Spanish squad?
I think the key things are pretty clear. Spain are absolutely serious contenders for 2026. Their strong qualification, that dominant Nations League run, their tactical flexibility under De La Fuente, and that mix, that dynamic blend of young talent and experienced leaders, it all adds up to why they're ranked number one. De La Fuente's pragmatic approach, his commitment to bringing through stars like Yamal, that's also crucial for where they are now and where they could go.
Yeah. And with ESPN calling them favorites, lots of predictions of a deep run, maybe semifinals or further. The anticipation is definitely building, isn't it? The idea that young stars like Yamal could become global superstars at the tournament, that just adds another layer of excitement. So here's a final thought for you listening. Considering where they are now, that mix of established quality and brilliant young talent, could this Spanish squad really be on the verge of a new golden era? And what part of their game, what specific element do you think will be the most crucial factor for them at the 2026 World Cup? Something to think about until our next deep dive.